Hey guys, good afternoon. John with the New York Metro weather. Hope you guys are doing well. Happy Sunday. A lot to talk about today. We have a big nor'easter coming during the early part of next week. There's going to be quite a bit of precipitation. There's going to be quite a bit of wind. We're probably looking at impacts to travel. And the way that this all breaks down is super complex, and it's going to take a while here. Really, probably right up until the minute this storm starts for us to figure out exactly how this is going to go down. So what we're going to do in this video today is we're going to take some time to explain what is causing the storm, why the system is developing the way that it is. And we're also going to look at some of the uncertainties and why we can maybe lean in one direction or the other in terms of how this storm is going to play out. So what you're looking at right in front of you right now is a European model which ran this morning about 4 or 5 hours ago. We're about to get another one in an hour or two. So if you're watching this, you're looking at the 6Z Euro, which runs in the very early morning hours of Sunday. And obviously, the first thing that catches your eye is that there's snow throughout New England. But in particular, if we watch the evolution of this system, there's quite a bit of snow over parts of the northern mid-Atlantic, even parts of northeastern PA, northern New Jersey, New York City, Connecticut, and then a secondary low that wraps up here into parts of southern New England. So this is a very, very impactful storm. But when you look at this scenario, you look at what you see in front of you here, the question you ask as a meteorologist is, how did we get here? How does this happen on the forecast model? So let's go back and look at what's really going on. I know there's a lot of colors and stuff here. Don't get overwhelmed. You're looking at cyclonic vorticity, and basically what we're going to use this for is just an idea as to how things are playing out in the atmosphere, where our disturbances are, and what's causing our storms to form, right? So the first thing we notice is we have a storm system here across the Great Lakes and parts of the northern plains tonight into Monday. And this system drops down to the south and east. And then we have our lead disturbance here over the mid-Atlantic. And the key to this storm system forming is the phase or the merge between this disturbance here and this one coming in here across the northern plains. So watch this play out on the European model. That disturbance from the northern plains and Great Lakes drops down, and it's going to capture or phase this lead disturbance here over parts of the North Atlantic and tuck it in towards the coast. And as that happens, a rapid deepening of low pressure occurs as heights fall, the upper level jet dynamics go crazy, and you get a rapidly deepening area of low pressure. And that leads to a tremendous amount of dynamic support for heavy precipitation. So if we flip over and just look at the eastern U.S. view here, we can get a better idea as to what's happening here. So here's our lead wave. This is valid Monday morning, right? And you can see it right here. It's heading towards the coast, and there's some thunderstorm activity and convection associated with this, which obviously forecast models have a really, really hard time with. Anytime there's convection involved, you're going to start to see a major spread among models in terms of how it's going to play out. And then not only do we have convection, but we have a potential phase here where this disturbance is coming down from the Great Lakes and trying to scoop this lead one up. And exactly how that happens, the timing, the orientation, that's going to determine how this storm plays out. So some models, like the European model, suggest now that this phase, this lead disturbance here, is going to get captured in, curled in. You see the capture happen, and that's going to allow a strong low pressure to form and elongate back towards the coast here. So if we flip back to the surface and look at what it's showing, you see all this low pressure, there's your lead one, your deep one, but it elongates back towards the coast, right? And all of that dynamic support leads to heavy precipitation and lift in this area of northern New Jersey, New York City, and southeast New York. Needless to say, what would happen in this scenario is precipitation would start as rain Monday, and as we got through Monday afternoon and evening, you would see that rain snow line collapse towards the coast with very impressive dynamics ongoing. And those bands of snow would likely be very heavy and wet in nature and would start to accumulate quickly in these areas as a result of that low pressure that is elongating back towards the coast. And again, that all has to do with exactly how this lead disturbance is captured by this incoming disturbance. If we go over to the GFS model, right, I want to show you guys a comparison. All in all, it looks fairly similar here, right? This is valid Monday afternoon. But watch on the GFS how that lead disturbance here, it kind of escapes out to the east a little bit. And most notably, it does not curl back towards the coast. Compared to the European model, it does not curl back towards the coast. Instead, it kind of slides away to the east. You can see it kind of sliding here this way. And so by the time it does curl back in and phase and elongate, the precipitation and your dynamic support is up here in New England. So if you look at the GFS, your heavy snow is just a little bit further north and east. So areas like upstate New York, Albany, western Massachusetts, northwest Connecticut, interior locations of Vermont. And you do end up getting some snow down into parts of northern New Jersey and New York as that cold air collapses in anyway, but it's way later in the event and not nearly as impactful from a winter weather perspective. So that's the conundrum we have, right? Let's take a look at some high resolution modeling. I want to look at the HRRR model, which is a high resolution model that runs out to hour 48. And I don't want to take this verbatim, but I want to just use it as an example to show you guys how this might evolve, just as an example of what might go on. So here's your forecast Monday morning, and you already have showers ongoing. I know we've been saying Monday afternoon, but the models are bringing this moisture in earlier now. So this is Monday morning, showers are ongoing, and they continue all day long. It's 4 or 5 o'clock now, and the models are still suggesting that by and large, much of New England is seeing snow in the higher elevations, but down near the coast here, it's all rain. But look what happens as the dynamics start to go and really crank here as we get into the early morning hours of Tuesday. That rain-snow line starts collapsing down. And the next thing you know, 4 or 5 a.m. on Tuesday, you have bands of snow sitting essentially throughout all of northern New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, all the way to Boston on this model. And when it ends, the forecast ends here at hour 48. This is 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. Obviously, you have a high-impact system here with snow throughout the I-95 corridor, which we haven't seen all winter. So there's a lot going on here, right? Let's back up for a second and just talk about the differences in the weather models. We talked about the European, and the key to this forecast is obviously, I'm going to go to the northeast view here. The key to the forecast is obviously how this phase happens and how this incoming disturbance here is able to capture this lead disturbance and tuck it back towards the coast. If it does happen in time, if it does happen fast, right, that lower pressure and high falls, they're going to elongate back towards the coast, and you're going to see that banding pivot back towards parts of northern New Jersey, New York, southeast New York, and Long Island. If it waits a little longer, that's all going to happen in New England. And that is why this forecast is so sensitive. I mean, we're talking down to a matter of hours when this phase happens. That's going to make or break this forecast for a lot of people in northern New Jersey, in the New York City Metro, and even in New England. I mean, the details of how this evolves are going to come down to the very last possible second. Looking at the European ensemble in New York, obviously we're focused on New York here. You get quite a bit of spread. These are all 51 members of the European ensemble. We're looking at the total snowfall. So your mean snowfall in New York is right around 4 inches. But if you look at the members, it's a lot of all or nothing, right? A lot of them have 0. A lot of them have 10, 12 inches, 6 inches. There's quite a bit of spread here among the possible solutions. And I think that's an important thing to remember here is there is a humongous range of possibilities. One thing we did this morning was we made a graphic. I just want to show you guys sort of the range of possibilities here among the forecast models. And so we made this graphic here to show you where we're at. So this is your snowfall ranges from left to right, 0 to 24 inches. And you have a clustering down here between 0 and 5-ish inches. That's the GFS, the RGEM, the Canadian model, the GFS and Euro ensemble. But then you have your sort of larger events, and that's the UK model, the European, and obviously the NAM from this morning, which has a ridiculous amount of snow for New York. But it just kind of gives you an idea as to what the range is here, right? There's just such a tremendous spread in possibilities of how this could evolve across the area. So let's go ahead and talk impacts, right? We're gonna toss the idea and the possibility out there that this does switch over to snow at some point. That's gonna be part of the forecast, and depending on when it happens and how intense the storm gets, how close it tucks in towards the coast, that is going to determine whether this is a nuisance event snow-wise or whether we have our first real significant snowfall event of the season here in mid-March, which is ridiculous to talk about. But here's impacts-wise what we're expecting. Monday morning, showers develop throughout the northern mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, right? And this system is still relatively weak. It's not anything crazy. So if you're traveling on Monday and you're not in the interior or higher elevations of the New England, you should be fine. However, as you get into Monday night, really anytime past probably 10, 11 o'clock, that's when the forecast goes haywire. And that's when some models are starting to suggest that we could see that snow line collapsing in towards the coast. At the very least, if you're in interior northern New Jersey, southeast New York, and Connecticut, expect wintry weather late Monday night into Tuesday morning. During the early morning hours of Tuesday, that's where we have no sort of semblance as to where this is going right now based on the latest data. And it's going to come down to, I can't stress this enough. It's going to come down to hours and intricate details as to whether or not this is going to be a winter weather event or not. Either way, we are talking about heavy precipitation, a strong storm system with a wide field of winds, so very gusty winds are likely as well, and the possibility that that rain snow line does collapse towards the coast. So Tuesday morning, actually most of Tuesday, from a travel standpoint, to me, looks impactful in the Northeast. I think there's going to be disruptions and delays. As always, please check with your carrier. It's so hard for us to predict what it means in terms of travel, public transportation, or airfare, or whatever, however you're traveling. Just check with your carrier. Keep an eye on your incoming flight or train or boat, however you're doing it. That is the time frame, really Tuesday morning, when that rain snow line is forecast to collapse, that the uncertainty is at its highest. But throughout New England, we're looking at the likelihood of a significant nor'easter. Eventually, that low pressure is going to wrap back towards the coast too. So we're going to see winds really increase out of the north and northeast as it does so into Tuesday morning and afternoon. And then models linger this around into Tuesday night, and even parts of early morning Wednesday, we still have sort of a wintry mix, showery sort of event going on with a very deep low pressure off the coast. Backing up and looking at the wind fields of this in the upper levels, a couple thousand feet above the ground, it's when that phase happens, right? We talked about that curling and that phase. So when that happens, that the wind field really expands. And look at the forecast here Tuesday night, just quite a bit of wind, even at 850 millibars, a couple thousand feet above our heads. So expecting travel delays from this one regardless of what happens in the New York City Metro. Again, rain likely, wind likely, heavy precip likely, flooding is possible. But in terms of winter weather, the thing that we really, really have to watch the closest, and we're going to be watching so closely to see in the next couple model runs, is this phase between this guy right here and this incoming disturbance. When does it happen? And does this guy get curled back towards the coast? Because if it does, we could be looking at a change over to snow here on Tuesday in New York. And if it doesn't, that change will likely wait long enough and shoot up into New England, so that we'll be looking at a very marginal impact event in terms of winter weather. So we're right on that teetering line here right now in terms of looking at something substantial and looking at another event that's mostly rain and wind. As we go through the day today, we will have plenty of updates. Please stick with us. Again, keep this storm in the back of your mind. Monday into Tuesday, possibly lingering into Wednesday morning. Could have some travel difficulties. It's not going to be great out there, whether we get snow or not. So this is happening. It's just a matter of, what the winter weather potential looks like. We'll have updates throughout the day today. If you guys have any questions, give us a shout. We're here all day tracking the weather models with you. Thank you so much for watching and supporting our content. We really appreciate it, guys. Talk to you soon.